Good afternoon. Thank you for viewing today's webinar, Thriving Through Transition, Advancing Personally and Professionally. This presentation was one of your favorites from the 2025 annual conference. My name is Dr. Hilda Billups, and I currently serve as the Director of Webinars Committee for TACUSPA. Allow me to introduce our speaker for today's webinar. Edna Zambrano-Martinez serves as Director of Student Unions and Activities at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. With more than 20 years of experience in student affairs, she has contributed to a broad range of areas, including new student orientation, housing, auxiliary services, campus programming, conference services, and student union operations. She is currently serving as the interim director of University Recreation and has previously held an interim role as director of residence life. Throughout her career, Edna has guided
You're muted now, Hilda.
Please excuse me. Throughout her career, Edna has guided campus initiatives that enrich the student experience, from expanding and modernizing university dining services to developing impactful training programs for student employees. She has played a lead role in creating long-standing first-year initiatives that continue to shape student success, and she has co-founded the university's Distinguished Speaker Series that brings notable persons to campus, from former U.S. presidents to Nobel laureate and artists. Edna has been an active member of higher education organizations, including the Association of College Unions International, ACUI, and the National Association for Campus Activities, NACA. She has served on the ACUI Region 2 2024 conference planning team as a Closing the Gaps mentor, the online learning program team, and as co-leader of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion programming team. Edna has also presented at conferences and hosted ACUI webinars, including contributing to broader conversations about student affairs profession, student engagement, and campus life. She is proud to lead dedicated teams that deliver exceptional services and memorial events, ensuring students feel welcome, supported, and inspired throughout their college journey. We are very thankful and excited to have Edna with us today.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I really appreciate this invitation and the opportunity to share this session again. This is a conversation and a topic that is near and dear to my heart because it's a lived experience, as it is probably for a lot of the staff that will be viewing this webinar. So thank you so much. Hilda, let me know if I'm sharing the correct screen. I think I am. All right.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for viewing this webinar today. I wanted to tell you a little bit about why this topic is personal to me. As Hilda mentioned in my introduction, I have served in interim roles, and I'm actually serving in an interim role at this time. And you know, when the word interim is thrown around, there's probably change, there's probably transition in the department or at the institution. The biggest transition that I've ever experienced was obviously the opening of UTRGV back in 2015. That is when the University of Texas Pan American and the University of Texas in Brownsville became UTRGV. And that was probably professionally a very difficult time for a lot of the staff. We were told that a new university was being formed and that everybody had to reapply for their jobs. And if that isn't unsettling, I don't know what is, because it was a very tough thing to hear. And so some staff, decided to leave. Some people retired, but a great majority of us were fortunate enough to apply and continue on with the new university. And so here I'm showing you some pictures. Here's us on our first a celebration that we had for our first class. It was a really exciting time in that, everything was new. The paint was new. Everything was new. New students, new programs, new leadership. It really has been an exciting 10 years. And fast forward to us celebrating actually our 10th anniversary now. So, a lot to overcome, a lot of learning and a lot of growing opportunities for the staff. Some of the other changes that we went through at the time was particularly in our fee-funded areas, for example, Student Union, Residence Life, University Recreation. In the new university, we were moved from student affairs over to business affairs. And so that in itself was also a challenge for the team. Um, you don't always know, um, how it's going to be in a new division. So that was actually a very big change. So that would have been in 2015. Fast forward to 2022, the decision was made to move back those departments into a newly formed student affairs department or division, and a new AVP was hired to be our AVP for student affairs. So 7 years into the new university, another big transition for the team in student affairs. And so I am happy to say that a lot of the staff is still with us, and we've made some wonderful, wonderful strides in creating more engaging programs for our events, for our students, more opportunities for them to just feel more engaged on campus, to feel more included on campus, and to really make the campus home. Another big thing that you may have heard about UTRGV is, we decided being a new university wasn't going to be enough. We wanted more challenges. So we started a football program. And so here you see some of our student affairs staff at our football coach announcement when Travis Bush was announced as our coach in 2022. We're very excited. August 30th of 2025 seemed like years and years away. And before we knew it, here we are, August 30th, 2025, playing our first game in Division One football in South Texas, which has been a really exciting time at UTRGV. And here you see a picture of a lot of our student staff and our full-time staff. In the back, you see our AVP, Dr. Hurst, also joining us. We hosted our first ever tailgating activities for students, a brand new tradition, something new for our students, but obviously something new for our staff. So when I talk about a lived experience, I can assure you that it's been quite a bit of change over my career. And I also feel that this topic is important because as I talk to colleagues at other campuses, as I go to conferences, change is something that comes up a lot. And when I presented the session at another association and also at TACUSPA in the fall, you kind of see the faces, you kind of see the experience that they have had, some of it positive, some of it a little traumatic. And so hopefully today I can give you some perspective, give you ideas of how you can tackle some of these changes that may be coming to your campuses. Um, I like to think of this slide as the one that tells us a little bit about what they're saying about us. What are they saying about higher education? Um, sometimes we're accused of being the slowest to change. Universities don't like to change. They're very set in their ways. That we view adaptation as a threat. We know that, private corporations, because they are driven by profit, they are very quick to have to adapt to technology or cultural changes because their bottom line will depend on it. And sometimes I think the misperception is that higher education isn't able to do the same. Um, Sometimes the other one I think that we're hearing a lot is that the value of the college degree has evolved, that maybe we're not perceived as offering something that's that necessary or valuable in today's time. Of course, we strongly disagree when we see the effect that we're having in our communities and our students. At UTRGV, one of the metrics that I'm, most excited about hearing every year is it's nice to be ranked in the Wall Street Journal and all of those rankings, but I love to hear when we're ranked on social mobility, that we have impacted the social mobility of the community here in South Texas. That one to me is so important. And so that's where I know that what we're doing is important every day and it's valuable and it really is changing lives in our community. But yes, it is a time for us to understand that. We are also market driven or market sensitive institutions. And so we will have to make some adaptations to keep up with the way students want to learn, the way they want to receive our services and our programs. This is another slide that I'll briefly go over. What are these increasing challenges and changes? I know in Texas, congressional and state rulings and laws that have changed have really impacted a lot of our programs, the way we offer things. I know that we've had to, sunset some programs and maybe redirect some services or resources. So that has been a challenge for a lot of institutions. Um, and also, because technology changes so fast, as a staff, we have to be upskilling ourselves, making sure that we are always tweaking our resumes and tweaking our skills and growing and learning so that we can keep up with a lot of that demand. And then finally, those financial pressures, right? The state allocations aren't what they used to be. Up until 10 or maybe 15 years ago. And so we are having to be do the same with less or do more with less, and that's not something that is always easy for any institution. But change is inevitable. Today, we want to challenge you to think about this with an open mind, to try to seek opportunities. You're going to hear me use the word opportunity a lot to the point where you might get a little sick of hearing the word opportunity. But to be honest, that is the way I view change. When my supervisor tells me, we're going to go in a different direction, we're going to change something, we're going to pivot something, I like to change those words and think about them as opportunities and ways for me to develop new skills, ways for me to think of a problem differently, think of a solution differently, and to be able to offer services to students in the way that we know they want to receive them or they would be best received. Um, this Stoic philosopher, and you've probably heard this saying many times, is not what happens to you, but how you react to it. And that is so important. And this is going to be something that I want you to have present throughout our webinar today. How you react to it is really what is going to make or break that situation for you, or make or break your ability to continue on, how you react to it. It's not so much about the change. It's how you either accept it or move forward with it. So, some of the first things that you need to do when a change is being presented to you, for example, in our case, when we were changing divisions, that could be an example. You have to recognize some things and make some decisions for yourself. So, the first decision is deciding whether you're going to stay or whether you're going to go. I think most of the time you see the change coming, you know something is, in the works. And your gut is probably already telling you, you know what, this position is not for me, or, this time is not going to be for me. And so maybe I need to start looking for another opportunity. So that would be the first decision. Uh, the next one will be, do you buy into this new direction or these new priorities that the institution is presenting? That is very important. If you're a leader in a department, if you're a supervisor, obviously that is going to be critical to the success of the implementation of that change and how your staff is able to roll with it, accept it, or be able to execute that change. One of the things that's so important to recognize is that sometimes we have very, very little input on a change that is being implemented. If it's something obviously that you're implementing from your area and you have full locus of control, that's great. But I'm talking about larger shifts at an institution that may have nothing that really there is no input from your area, and that can be very difficult. But you must recognize that. Also, the other one where a lot of the miscommunication or the hurt feelings or the bad experiences with change come from is that the communication is not always going to be handled well. It's very rare that an institution gets it so perfect. I've never heard anybody say, wow, when we made this huge change to a new software, it went so perfectly. There was no glitches and no problems. I felt informed. I felt invested in the process. I felt heard. If that is the case, then you are at a great institution. You shouldn't even be in this webinar. But understand that For the most part, that is not the case in a lot of those huge transitions. And it's not going to be handled the right way for you because, again, they are trying to implement change to a large audience, to a large institution, a large group of people, and it's not about the way you necessarily want to receive it. Also, recognizing that at every level of leadership, there is going to be an even higher level of leadership or maybe a legislative change or pressure that is going to be the catalyst for some of these changes. If you're an upcoming leader, so if you're not as a seasoned leader yet, this is a time for you to ask yourself, how does this change going to help me grow into the leader I want to grow into? What experience can I get from this to maybe look for a promotion in the near future. For somebody that's a seasoned staff, how are you going to leverage your years of experience to make changes that you've always wanted to make? And I have a slide on that later where we talk about maybe there's a new leader, a new vice president in your organization, and that can be a little bit difficult sometimes. But how are you going to use that opportunity to get them to maybe listen to, an idea that you had or a change that you want to make? That's really important. We're also going to talk a little bit about resistors and champions because at the end of the day, I really want, at the end of the session, I really want you to think about that. Where are you going to fall in these buckets? When it comes to change, there's champions. Those are the people that are going to support the leader. Champions are the ones that the team, the coworkers, the colleagues are going to lean on when they have questions or when they're afraid of something, when they have some anxiety about something. The champions are the ones that are going to share their experience and try to bring comfort. And I'm not talking about, uh, the one thing you don't want is to obviously share misinformation, right? But you would be the person that people look up to. These are the people that you seek advice from. Champions are their opinions hold weight. When they say, I understand why we're making this software change, but I think maybe we should purchase this additional, service or whatever, their opinions will hold some weight. Resistors can be the complete opposite, but they are just as influential as a champion. And this is where it becomes a little bit, this is where the biggest challenges come and where the team kind of could break apart in a time of transition. Resistors don't typically support the leader. Like I mentioned, they are very influential. Resistors may never come on board. They may, to the end, never agree with the change. The software is implemented. We're 6 months in and they're still complaining about it. Some may or may not have ulterior motives. They will definitely be the ones that bring down the morale because, again, they're either sharing misinformation or they're just sharing opinions and not facts. They are also thinking inwardly. Again, these are people that are thinking more about how is this going to impact me, or this is negatively impacting me. They're not thinking about the greater good of the organization or of the program or what it is that the problem that we're trying to solve. What are some of the reasons that we resist change? And I think a lot of these will resonate with you if you are, or you experience, big transitions in leadership. If you've experienced, like in our case, when we were, moved from another division, you'll resonate with a lot of these. There's a lot of fear of the unknown, fear of losing your job. That was definitely something that was difficult when we were starting the new university. A lot of people were not sure that they were going to get rehired. Um, if there is a change in a program or in the leadership of a program, sometimes there's that loss of autonomy. We can be a little territorial, if it's something that you created or something that you've led for a long time, you're afraid of letting it go. You're afraid of somebody else mismanaging it. So losing that autonomy can be very difficult. There's also a lot of misconceptions. Again, if the leadership at the top hasn't communicated well on why we're making a particular change, then everybody else in the organization, in the support areas, uh, have their own ideas of why they're doing it. Oh, they're trying to save money. Oh, they're trying to cut jobs. Or I know this person doesn't like this, the way we've been doing this. That's why they're doing it. So that's why it's really important if you are a leader in your department to make sure that you're well informed so that there isn't misconceptions. And it really trying to avoid eroding that trust. That is something that will happen or that could happen. And as leaders, we have an opportunity to really try to minimize that. Maybe you've had a really bad experience with change in the past, that change that was mishandled. And so now every time the word change gets thrown around, you have a little bit of that resistance to it. Some of the strategies, and this is something that is helpful anytime we have stressors in our jobs, right? But particularly when we're trying to manage change, um, there's some ways that you can help manage that. Staying positive. I know that's difficult, but again, what are some of the benefits? What are some of the opportunities that this change presents to me? Um, Staying informed, always staying involved in the process, always attending information sessions, reading those long update emails sometimes that they will send when there's changes. All of those can certainly reduce your uncertainty because it's going to help you understand what the goals are and what the reasons behind the change are. If you do not understand what those goals and those reasons are, that is where your anxiety and your resistance to the change is going to come from. So if you want to minimize that feeling, then you need to be uninformed and you need to understand that. Um, Being flexible, being adaptable, being open to new ways of doing things. I know we don't always like hearing that, but being willing to adjust those routines, those processes, to learn a new skill, to learn a new software, is always important in our career, regardless. But particularly when we're talking about change, it becomes really important. Um, in my presentation, when in this particular slide, I like to give an example. When we were undergoing some of our student affairs transitions, and talking about programs that maybe we wanted to change or some things that we wanted to sunset. I remember a particular staff member literally kind of doing the cross arms and being like, you know, they just need to tell me what they want me to do and I'll just do that. So basically, the person was saying, I'm done thinking for myself and for my team. I'm just going to sit here and wait to be told what to do. That person was gone within 6 months on their own accord. They really saw their way out the door. And so that is an absolute example of what we don't want to do in this process. And especially as a leader, that is not what you want to do. That sends a very bad message to the rest of your team. Not only that, if you have new professionals in your team, that is particularly hurtful to them as we're trying to bring them up in our institution or develop their skills if they're new professionals. Um, so I always like to give that example of, and sometimes we don't hear ourselves doing it. Uh, uh, but think about how you are speaking about the process or the changes, how you're relaying information back to your staff from a meeting. And again, developing new skills. Is this going to be an opportunity for you to move up, for you to get a promotion? Is a change going to involve you maybe supervising more people or becoming a supervisor, that maybe you haven't been before? Is there going to be an increase in budget responsibilities? Again, is this an opportunity for you to request more professional development? Maybe there's licensing or accreditations or things that you want to seek as a part of these changes. So developing the new skills right along with change, so important for you to view those as opportunities and not view them as more or extra. If that is what you're feeling, then go back to our previous slide where we talked about, are you staying or are you going? Communicating is so important. You'll hear me talk about that more in a later slide. Sharing those worries, those questions, not only with your coworkers, but also with your leadership. And talking openly is going to make people more connected to the process, more connected to the change. People feel more supported, obviously, when they're heard. Um, And so communication up, down, sideways, so important. Self-care, again, like I mentioned, these are things that are not just important during times of change, but always in our work. Being able to manage our stress, prioritizing that self-care, you know, maybe reaching for more healthy snacks, not the unhealthy snacks after we come back from those meetings that are particularly stressful. But managing, taking care of yourself is so important. Uh, Paying attention to the things that are in your control, that do affect you, and not worrying so much about the things that you have no control over, that will reduce your stress. Yesterday, we were talking about project management in one of our meetings, and we talked about in project management, you really need to be focused on what the problem is. And once you start leaving what that problem is, then the project kind of goes off the rails. It's the same way, same thing here. Focus on exactly what the project is, what the change is, not on how it's impacting everybody else. Worry about how it's impacting your staff, your program, your area, and that will definitely help reduce some of that stress. And again, and finally, seeking support. So important to keep connected with people not only inside your organization, but outside your organization, friends and family that you can kind of unload on and talk to them about. That's going to help your morale. That's going to help make you feel a little bit more reassured because they know you better, right? Your friends, your family know you better than anybody else. Um, but the most important thing is taking ownership. Taking your ownership of this process and what's happening is so important. Instead of asking very blame-oriented questions like, why are we doing this? Who's responsible? Whose idea was this? It's best to be asking questions that are more about personal responsibility and your personal actions. What can I do? What can I contribute to this change? How can I contribute to making this easier for my staff or easier for my colleagues? What experiences am I bringing to the table that can make this more palatable for somebody who's been doing something this way a long time and they're struggling with a new process or a new software? What can I bring to the table? What can I contribute? Um, After I presented in the fall, this book came to my attention, which I had not encountered before, by John Miller called The Question Behind the Question. And there's a lot of talk about what can I do to help move forward. And so I adapted some of those key points in the book to change. So again, asking action-oriented questions versus the victim thinking, not making ourselves victims, but rather, okay, this is going to be tough. I don't necessarily agree with every single part of it, but it's going to happen. And so I'm going to roll with this. So what can I do to understand this better? Again, you understand it. It'll be less stressful to you, less stressful to the staff that you lead. How am I going to support my team through this transition? You have a duty to that team that you're leading. You have a duty to help them in their everyday work, but in these times that you become so, so important and you become the key of whether or not this is going to be successful or sometimes a little disastrous. And again, what steps can I take to adapt? Again, communication so important. When there's poor communication, that's when there's going to be confusion, when there's going to be tension. And those are two very big pitfalls when it comes to change management. We don't want confusion, we don't want tension. Making sure that we're asking questions to clarify, knowing what the expectations are in every step of a particular project is so important. Again, yesterday we were having a conversation about project management, and a lot of this, when I think about change, sometimes I think of them, there's probably a project at hand. So really important that everybody understands what it is that we're trying to solve and what your role, what they're expecting your role to be or your deliverable to be in that process. Avoiding assumptions. Again, I think sometimes the assumption is, oh, well, they're bringing in this person because they think that we're stuck in our ways and this person's going to bring us the new way to do something. Avoid those assumptions. You don't really know why that is happening. Ask clarification. Taking responsibility, how am I going to clarify this message for my team? That's going to deepen the trust that the team has in you and in the leadership and in the institution. And then staying informed, communicating up, down, sideways to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing. When we talk about change champions, again, these are going to be the employees that leadership are going to turn to, and they're the ones that are going to have the better chance of gaining the support for this change. And they're usually people from within the team. They're not going to bring a leader from the very top to come make this change. They're going to try to find all of those direct reports to make sure that they have the trust of their team, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be the most informed to help implement any changes that are needed. They may be the ones that are going to be involved in some of the planning and some of the decision making. Champions can be the ultimate influencers. Maybe it's your personality, maybe it's the positions that you've held on campus. Um, when I think of our student union staff, we kind of know a lot of people on campus because we deal with a lot of uh, customers when we're doing setups in buildings and meeting rooms and things like that. So sometimes there's by position, you're going to have some people that can be viewed as a little bit of influence, or maybe that's why you're being tapped for that. Champions are going to be the ones that are going to help overcome that resistance. And they're going to be the ones that are actually going to be able to put these initiatives into action. Without these champions, it's not going to happen. If there's no champions for the change, then nothing's going to happen, obviously. Um, they are also the ones that can model something, or maybe they're going to be like the super users, or maybe they're going to be the testers of a software to make what is new, make it less scary. And I love being a guinea pig. That might give some people anxiety. I don't mind being the guinea pig because to me, if I agree to be the guinea pig to the change or to the first user of whatever it is that we're implementing, I get to see it from the beginning. I get to see what worked, what didn't work. Maybe I get to give some of my feedback. Maybe I get to make some suggestions that will benefit my department. And again, when you cross your arms and say, no, I'm resistant, then you're sending the message that you are not going to be involved and you're going to be fine with whatever is given to you. And that is not going to ultimately help you or your department or your staff. So if you have the opportunity to be a tester, to get in there from the beginning, I think that's going to make the most success for you and your staff. And again, always see these challenges as opportunities to grow, either for you or for your teams. This is one of the changes that is often very, very difficult for a team, especially for a team that's been together for a long time. Maybe for a team that has had the same leader for a very long time and that person moves on, or maybe they retire. The new leader that comes in from the outside of the organization, the person that's hired from outside of the institution, hands down, I would say 90% and 100% of the time are the ones that are going to receive the most resistance. Why are they bringing somebody from the outside? So and so deserved that promotion. I was ready for that position. Why did they go in that direction? Uh, that new leader is usually the one that's going to get the most resistance. So I'm going to give you, from my personal experience, how I have actually viewed the new leader as my best opportunity to make have some influence over things that I think need to be changed, or things that I want to advocate for my department or for my team. Um, if you think about it, the new leader that's coming from outside the organization, they're not going to have any allies. They're not going to have any people that they're trying to protect. They're new. They don't know anybody, you know? So there really is no kind of pretense there. They are the most in need of information. They need some insight. And wouldn't you want to be the one to provide that information? Wouldn't you want to be the one to tell your story to the new leader versus somebody else in the division or somebody else at the university talking about you to that person? I would rather they hear it from me. Um, Sometimes the new leaders are going to ask the most challenging questions. Sometimes those questions are going to have very obvious answers. Uh, and sometimes we've been there so long that we're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way because I've been doing it the same way for 5, 10, 15 years. So those challenging questions are good ones to get asked at some point because they're coming in with a whole new lens and a whole new perspective. And so I think that new perspective can be very, very beneficial, not only to you and your career as you're growing and learning, but also to your your department and your services. Um, the new person may not have been told to keep something, so they are willing to listen to a new idea or new process. So this is the time. In my interim capacities in housing and in my interim capacities right now at University Recreation, when I go to an interim role, I always tell the staff, this is your chance. This is your chance to change that thing that we've done the same way forever that we all dislike. When the new leader comes in, they don't know the difference. This is your time to ask for the sky and ask for that change and make your case. So instead of viewing the new leader as the person that is not going to listen, I would say it's the complete opposite. I think they are the ones that are most likely to listen versus the leader that had been there for a long time. So they may be willing to sunset something that that you've been ready to sunset or that you've been ready to change for a long time. Um, I challenge you to not think of them as the bad guy. They can be the catalyst for a change in a new direction that you maybe have been wanting to see. And so instead of viewing that person as a negative in your career or as something that is happening to you or happening to your department, I would view the new leader as a catalyst to make those changes. Again, all of these opportunities. The new leader is an opportunity. Uh, be the champion, be the person that welcomes them, be the person that gives them the information that they need to get what it is that you ultimately need for your programs, for your students, for our student success. If you've ever seen Ted Lasso, then you know who this is, Roy Kent. I won't give too much away, but this is the poster child of someone going from resistor to champion, from champion to leader. He is a team member on the team. The new coach comes on, and he does everything in his power to make sure that the new coach is miserable. And then you see throughout the seasons of the show how his character changes and really goes on to be a champion versus a resistor. So, if you're a Ted Lasso fan, you totally know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen Ted Lasso, highly recommend the show. A lot of fun. So, what is going to help you ensure long-term success for you? Uh, you're going to build some strong connections and relationships during these transitions of times of change, whether it's within your department or maybe outside of your department, outside of your organization. I remember when we were going through a lot of the changes with the new university, we were and then we started obviously building new programs for the new university. I got to meet and work with staff from different areas that I had never worked with before. And it was really exciting to finally be able to collaborate with business affairs or with IT. Um, More recently, with our new AVP of Student Affairs, he has really challenged us to work on a lot of the programs that we offer our students and with a lot of support from him and a lot of vision from him and from all of the leadership staff, we have been able to grow attendance by 100% at a lot of our events from year to year. We have a lot of engagement for our students here at UTRGV. And that has really impacted the relationships that I have with the police department, with campus facilities, with emergency management. I'm working much more closely with people now that we've undergone a lot of these changes than I did before. And what I love about it is that they understand what we do now. They have heard me tell our story of what we do and how we impact students, how we support their student life, how we help them feel welcomed on campus, things that they didn't know, things that the police department doesn't know. Uh, the campus facility doesn't know. So it has been really great in this time of transition to get kind of outside of my building and work with a lot of these other staff and divisions and really tell our story ourselves. So important. Um, learning to be a very effective communicator, but also being a good listener, being responsive to our colleagues, understanding that sometimes as we're going through change, and we're having a hard time with something, we don't want that difficulty to then, be passed on to other departments that depend on us, right? We need to be able to keep our operations going, as fluidly as possible to be able to continue our work. um, Helping others achieve success, so being their cheerleader. I think I've done this for a lot of, not a lot, but for some staff over time. They have looked at me and said, you know what, this isn't for me. I don't think I want to do this work anymore. So I support them. I help them look for other opportunities, or can kind of help them. Think about what their skills they've developed and where they could be useful, whether off campus in another, air in another company, or in another area, or maybe on campus. Maybe there's another department they need to go work at. But that's been really important too, and it's very personally satisfying to kind of be that cheerleader. Relationship building to create that trust. Again, not only between you and your supervisor, but between you and your team, and also having that trust from other departments. Again, once other departments have gotten to know me and my work style, and we've worked a little bit more closely together, there's a lot of trust. I think a lot about our last year meeting weekly with to launch our first football game. There was weekly meetings that I was involved in with a huge section of campus, across campus. Everybody was at the table. It was so great to see all of us come together for something that was so huge. And we learned about a lot about each other, and a lot of trust was developed. And so that's really going to serve all of us in our work every day. uh, Becoming or being an authentic person. uh, you don't have to sacrifice who you are, your values, your beliefs, to continue to do your work. You just have to find the place for you where you're most comfortable, where you feel valued, where your skills are best suited, right? Every day in that work that you're doing. Um, Managing your stress effectively, making sure that we're not projecting it onto everybody else, going back to self-care, so important. Sometimes you just need to close the door for a few minutes and sit with yourself, sit with those questions, sit with what's unsettling you for a minute, and then give yourself that time. Um, that ability to prioritize tasks and managing time so important, because in times of change, in times when there's huge projects, our work still continues. It's very rare that they're going to say, "Oh, we're going to pull you completely from your day-to-day duties so you can work on this change." Very rare, right? We're still expected to do both things simultaneously. So very important that you're able to prioritize. That's also I'm sorry, I'm gonna take a drink of water real quick. I think that's also an opportunity for you to lean on your staff, and give them an opportunity to learn and grow. So, in my interim role at this time, obviously I have to lead two departments, so I'm relying on some of the student union team to step up a little bit in some of the things that I would normally be doing, and that's great for them because that's developing a lot of their skills and giving them more experience, especially for some of our not so seasoned staff, some more up and coming staff. Always learning, updating skills. We talked about this earlier, and asking for professional development. If it's not something that is available maybe elsewhere, then can someone within your campus develop something? Is there something within is there HR or a colleague, maybe a colleague or a faculty member? Maybe they can develop something to help us, to train us or to help us learn if the opportunity to travel or attend a conference or something isn't available. Seeking support from your mentors and your colleagues. I still call people that were mentors to me in previous roles, and seek out their advice. Really, really important. If there are people that you trust, absolutely do that. And again, I encourage you, don't focus on just the challenge. Find those opportunities. Be flexible. Look at it from a different lens. Don't look at it as something that is happening to you. Look at it as an opportunity to make something better, to increase services, to increase student success. Because at the end of the day, if a change is being made at an institution, it's because they're trying to improve something. There's a challenge that they're trying to solve. And so the sooner you understand what that is and you view it as an opportunity to improve even your work, I think it will end up being more successful for you. I think it will be it will be a growth opportunity for you, looking at it in that way. That is the end of my presentation. I want to thank you so much for viewing this webinar. Here is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in having a conversation, or if you need any of the resources from this presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Edna. We really appreciate your insight today. Thank you to those of you who are joining us via our recording. Our next webinar Wednesday will be on Wednesday, April 1st at noon. It will be one of our pre-recorded leadership interviews. You can find it on our YouTube channel. Please invite a colleague to watch with you. Finally, the TACUSPA membership year runs from January to December. If you're not yet a member of TACUSPA, we encourage you to join us. Thank you and have a great day.
Bye-bye.